Welcome into the Garage Talk Podcast. Very, very special edition episode. Dune Part 2 review. Now, if you haven't seen Dune Part 1 or 2 yet, or read the books, or seen the 1984 Dune, I don't know why you're here. You should not be here.
Get out!
Get out.
Go and get.
And I'm just kidding. You don't have to read the books. It's not going to be very book. We are going to throw a few little book spoilers in there just from things that I've heard from people who've read the books and the comparisons to the movie and stuff. But yeah, if you haven't seen Dune Part 2 yet, I'm not quite sure what you're doing with your life, so get out there, go see it in IMAX if all possible.
Figure it out.
But that's your spoiler alert. We're diving right into this. Dune Part 2 by Denis Villeneuve, released here in 2024 after being delayed like 3 times. We finally got
Stop
it.
striking.
Stop
Just
striking.
take the pay cut.
Just take
damn
the
it.
Because, well,
Let AI do its thing.
Well, easy.
all right,
Easy.
sorry, we got ahead of ourselves.
sorry.
But
Yeah.
Dune Part 2, the best way I think I can describe it is it was one of the greatest cinematic experiences of my life. And I don't say that lightly. This is a movie that was made for the big screen. It was made for IMAX. If you haven't seen it in IMAX, go see it in IMAX. This movie from top to bottom was absolutely breathtaking, stunning. We all went and saw it Thursday at 3 p.m. I mean, I think that was the first showing in America. We went and saw it, and afterwards I got in the car, and I couldn't even drive home yet. I just sat there for a minute, and I just thought to myself, that's it. I can die now. Like, it would be okay if I died.
You're tearing up right now.
Yeah, like this
What's
was
going on?
like it's now safe, like, for me to pass on because I got to experience this. Everything's gonna be okay now.
Yeah.
Isn't there a part 3?
They're
Not yet. Hopefully,
probably, definitely
Okay.
will be. Yeah. So nice.
But
See it twice.
but everything about this movie, the directing, the writing, the acting, the music, the cinematography, I mean, this. I was thinking about this a lot, and we'll dive into this a little bit more later. This is easily top 5, if not top 1 movie of all time, in my book.
It's in the top 10 for sure on me, but
I'd put
it's
it top 5.
it's definitely, I don't know yet. Definitely 5. Yeah.
Definitely 5 or definitely 10.
Definitely 5. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not saying which 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 yet. I don't know, but it's at least 5.
This is one of those movies that, like, movies sometimes give me the chills, right? Something happens in sets, and you get a little hair stands up on your arm, and you kind of shiver. This happened like 7 times in this movie.
A lot more times the second time, I think, for me. Is just
Well,
Yeah.
IMAX enhances the music and the sound.
watching it at 3 stories high is definitely a different experience, and for the magnitude and the scope of how huge everything in that world is, like, it's a whole new level.
Yeah, so
like, just
Tim and I have seen it twice now. We all 3 of us went on Thursday afternoon. Tim and I were like, dude, we got to see it in IMAX. We forgot to invite Vince, but we drove up to see it about an hour away in IMAX, and it was a great experience. We saw our cousin there, which was funny.
Yeah,
I had no idea he was going to be there. I was just walking into the theater in the middle of Iowa, and I hear, "Hey, Tyler!" I'm like, "What the?"
I mean, he does live there.
I know he does. It's not surprising,
yeah.
but it is kind of funny. We lined up movies.
Yeah.
The Midwest stretches for quite a distance, but it's still small town America.
Still
baby.
small town. Everywhere you go is
Yeah.
small town America. You know somebody. Gosh, I don't know what else to say.
Well, let's
I don't
just
know.
get into Act 1 then, I guess, right?
Act 1, yeah. It's
Started off.
It was it picked up legitimate. Oh yeah, spoiler alert. We've said it. Get out.
Don't get.
Yeah, but it legitimately picked up immediately after part 2, which was
Nice,
great, or part 1, and I was probably about an hour into the movie. I'm like, guys, how are we gonna fit everything into this? Like, we're still just running around the desert.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen? It all worked out well, but I love the relationship between Paul and Johnny. Very sweet.
That the music when that is a little bit later on, but I mean the music in this is incredible. But like when their like romance really starts, like that note, like when they first kiss. It almost had like a Kenny G vibe, but then it builds into this Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, Hans Zimmer deserves an Academy Award for this soundtrack.
Yeah, probably.
It
should happen.
It is insane, absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But I loved the chemistry between Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet. Obviously, they're both top tier actors, so it's to be expected. Stiltgar, Javier Bardem, find yourself a real life Stiltgar who's gonna pump you up and be your hype man,
dude.
No matter what.
Yeah, the chuck. It always like apparently it's just around the country chuckles when he's like. He's so humble. Like
that is crazy. I'm not the Messiah. See, he's so humble. He's not even. He won't even admit to be. Which is another sign.
Exactly what it says, as the prophecy foretold.
Well, I don't know, Vince. We've been yelling a lot. What do you got to say about it?
I mean, there's not much more I can add than what you guys already said. Yeah, it's just opening up the way it did was amazing, and kind of establishing the character growth we already kind of seen from Paul, and the picking up where they left off after part one. It was really interesting to see kind of him start to gain a bit more kind of self-confidence.
Becoming one with the desert.
Yeah.
Becoming an actual Fremen.
Yeah. Which
he says later on in the movie. He's like, I am Fremen.
Yeah, yeah. And I think this kind of, they set it up really well that, he isn't totally bought into this idea that he's the Al-Muad'Dib.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go. Let's go. Let's go through all the names. Duke, Parasite Emperor. Spoiler alert. Or Paradisa Emperor. Kawasai's.
Let's just stick with the names that were in the movie.
Mahdi. Yeah, that's another. They don't even have that one in there.
Wadib.
Usul is another one. Lisan al-Gaib is.
Usan al-Gaib, yes.
Yes.
That he wasn't quite convinced of that, I don't think, or at least not trying to convince others that's what he was yet. And so it was more of him, I think, trying to learn about what it means to be Fremen, and trying to learn how to use this the desert of Arrakis like to his advantage to get revenge, to get set things right.
That was such a badass line where his mom was like, "Your father didn't believe in revenge." He's like, "Yeah, well, I do."
Yes.
And guess who's in
chills.
charge now?
Chills. He got chills. I know that.
When he just. It seems like I think there might have been two versions of this movie where everybody whispered in one and then they yell in the other, because it seems like, I don't know, like they just go from like.
I didn't have a problem with any of the sound.
No, I'm not. It's not a problem with the sound, but it's just like the intensity from
build.
Like he can. It goes on a switch. Like I don't know. It's I don't know. I had a better way to describe that, but that's
yeah, kind of a weird. Another part where I got chills is when he yelled at his mom.
That's what I was thinking about. Like normal conversation, and then like that's not, or what, I can't remember what he said now. That's not hope. That's not hope. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a new like kind of kink, and that's Timothée Chalamet yelling. That like
yell at me, daddy.
Yeah, but it gets me going every time. Anytime he starts yelling, I'm like. The chills happen, and I'm locked in. I'm zoned in. Seeing him ride the sandworm for the first time with the sound and the music was just so epic. It also being a grandfather worm, just absolutely stunning, incredible.
Yeah, the way they were able to get all of the CGI done, it looked so good. Like it is just like state of the art type of CGI that they were able to get done for this movie.
Well, also, I mean, you got to think I can't remember off the top of my head the cinematographer's name, but the cinematographer who works with Denis Villeneuve, the director, just does phenomenal. Where he worked, you can even see in the first Dune and Blade Runner 2049, they're just shots and technical aspects of the film that are just incredible.
Yeah, just an amazing way to kick off the movie. It was incredible. And they also, I think they started making House, the bad guys, the bald guy. Harkonnen. I don't know, they made those guys feel very evil. You know, I loved the spacesuits, like the costume design guys.
The first
crushed it.
First scene, those guys, that was
Yeah.
super cool. That design, like just a little detail with the fan running in the back, like they're like a little
circulating some air in there.
Yeah.
They did so well with designing the costumes and then like making them, look like feel real, despite it being very science fiction sort of thing.
Say what you will about the Harkonnens, but they really know the pageantry, though. It seems like in all the scenes that the bit they get together in the freaking throat singing and the and the
They're
way
very flamboyant people.
They're
Cheeseburger,
just-
hamburger.
I love it, dude.
Yeah,
Side
no.
of fries.
Yeah.
That's we realized all those scenes was just them ordering at Harkonnen McDonald's.
McDonald's definitely makes it to the year 10,000.
Bald Ronald McDonald on Harkonnen's home planet. I loved all the action scenes in the beginning with, or at least in the first half, with where they starting to attack, spicers and all those machines. Just watching Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya work together, Johnny and Paul work together to, combining their knowledge of the desert and the Harkonnens and just wreaking havoc. It was just so satisfying to watch. I mean, watching them fight together, I was very satisfied.
And also every time the Fremen pop out from under the sand, it's so fucking
Every
cool.
time.
It's so cool.
I will never get sick of watching Fremen soldiers, the fighters, pop up out of the sand.
Yeah, and then they immediately go into like jujitsu, judo throw stuff, and like then stabbing them. It's like, it's so cool because after part one, watching the big Atreides and the Harkonnen fights, and people wildly swinging swords and stuff, and then going into this much more kind of elegant fighting style. It's it's a wonderful contrast of the Fremen being these almost like guerrilla fighters in the desert compared to rank and file soldiers for these different houses. I love that.
Love the swords in this movie. It drove me nuts in the first one for some reason, but I do like that they found guns now. Because there wasn't one to be found.
That's because the warfare is a little bit different when you're fighting with the Fremen. They don't have the shields and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We got pretty early on too. It was a fun progression of watching. What's Paul's mom's name again? Why am I
Jessica.
blanking on it? Yeah, Jessica going just from like, I'm your pregnant mom, Paul, to going full Bene Gesserit, full mother, whatever they call her.
Reverend Mother.
Reverend Mother. Every scene you see with her, she just progresses deeper and deeper. It was really cool seeing her drink the poison, the worm poison.
The Vision.
And the Vision. And I didn't have on my bingo card, I did not have Anya Taylor-Joy as a fetus. So that was a nice surprise later on in the movie.
Yeah.
But incredible all around.
Yeah, and then as the film moves on and we're reintroduced back to Gurney.
Gurney. Yeah. I'm actually really mad because in promotional material they showed his face. He was on posters. They showed him in trailers, and I avoided most of that for the most part. But I still saw it.
You can't avoid it.
It would have been so cool to see Gurney for the.
I was surprised I didn't see. I didn't watch the trailers.
I'm very happy for you.
Yeah, you must love that then.
I would have loved being surprised by seeing Gurney.
Yeah.
But because we were talking about before. Oh gosh, you said his name. The guy who believes Paul to be the
Stilgar.
That contrast between Gurney and Stilgar I love too, because Stilgar loves Paul because he's like this chosen one kind of character, but then Gurney, he sees Paul as the rightful
heir
of the Atreides.
He helped Duke. He helped raise him, so
exactly. So it was cool to see them both rooting for Paul's kind of ascension, but in different ways. And yeah, I don't know. They didn't get too many scenes together, Gurney and
Fogar.
Like they don't get too many scenes together, which I think was unfortunate. I think I don't know. I'm assuming the books I must not either, but it would have been cool to get more of their kind of back and forth.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it was in the books, but there's only so much you can do in these films, and Paul obviously is the main focus here, and that's what we focused on. Seeing the Harkonnens' home planet with the gladiator battle and the black sun,
Giddy Prime.
Yeah, Giddy Prime, and
Apparently not in color.
I'm assuming it's because of their star. Like
it's because the black sun.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
And that comes into where the cinematography is so cool. But we get introduced to Fade Rotha.
Yeah.
And they, I like how they introduce him like he's psychotic, and then they just show him, and he's like, "Yep, he's definitely psychotic."
Don't piss him off and stand behind him. You're gonna get a throat slit.
Yeah.
Or any Harkonnen. They're just apparently those
Harkonnens rage kill anybody.
Those bald women in the see-through
The bald cannibals.
The dresses. Apparently they're just there to kill when he wants to. Not the black teeth ones, but the other ones.
I noticed kind of a difference too. Like it seems like the women there in at least like black attire with the black teeth, they seem to be almost, I don't know if like
they're Fade Rotha's friends.
Yeah. Friends.
There's cannibal
something.
friends.
Yeah. And then you have the ones that are in like the clear or white stuff, and they don't have black teeth. They're kind of just
they're servants.
I'm assuming just slaves. And
so here's
slaves to kill.
Here's the difference between literature in the 1960s and literature nowadays. So if this was nowadays, George R. Martin would spend 3 books just writing about the political system and the nobility system of the Harkonnens, whereas back in the 60s, authors actually finished their books and just told the main story and let the rest up to imagination. Yeah. So I'm sure there is some slavery or some ranking system, especially with as brutal as the Harkonnens are. Yeah. But that was such a cool introduction to his character, and because even though I'm being psychotic, you're like, oh, he's kind of badass.
Yeah. And his uncle, Big Daddy Harkonnen.
And I
name
the Lord Baron.
Lord Baron.
That's Lord Baron. That's Vladimir Harkonnen.
Vladimir Harkonnen.
Yeah. I also really enjoyed him. Not necessarily trying to kill his nephew, but I'm sure if his nephew died, he wouldn't have been sad because it sounds like his nephew kind of wants to take over House Harkonnen.
And it was a test. I mean, testing his toughness.
And it's his birthday, so he's just like, you know what? We're going to make this actually deadly for you. And shout out to our old doctor friend who kind of...
That's not him.
That
wasn't him?
No, the doctor's
dead. Yeah, he died from gas.
He got his head cut off. He got his head cut off before that happened.
Oh, shit.
He sold out Atreides.
But I thought the same thing. I was like, he looks just like him. I think that was a good comparison of kind of the kind of more diversity that House Atreides was compared to where Harkonnens are all just bald white people. House Atreides, there's multiple. Obviously, Paul could speak Mandarin and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that was a great introduction scene. And then that's when we start getting hot and heavy with the Bene Gesserit getting involved.
Bene Jezebel, more like it.
Yeah, and then we see them putting kind of Fade Rotha, kind of setting him up on Arrakis just in case he ends up having success. I do want to say one thing, and I this is on record. You have to find it a long time ago, but I was very, very concerned about having Christopher Walken as the Emperor.
Hey, I'm the Emperor.
Terrible. Don't ever do that again. But I was completely wrong. I thought Christopher Walken was an incredible Emperor. For every scene he was in, he played it perfectly. And I don't know how it compares to the books, but at least for the role in this movie, I thought he knocked it out of the park. He wasn't too Christopher Walken about it, which I appreciated.
I mean, he's got range. When he plays,
he's a typecast.
Yeah, he gets typecast.
He's characterized.
Yeah. Oh, no, we want Christopher Walken.
Paul Atreides. But so I thought it was that. I just wanted to put that back out on record, saying that I'm a fool. I don't know anything, and Christopher Walken is awesome. Also getting very old. Oh, definitely showing his age.
Yeah, he's in his 80s, I think.
Still coming to work in your 80s. That's
apparently he's a delight to work with on set. I guess. Like all the actors loved working with
Oh yeah,
Christopher.
I can
Christopher
see that.
Yeah. So I appreciate that, keep morale up on such a huge movie. Like I imagine it can be difficult sometimes.
Oh yeah.
So
I can't imagine what went into making this movie, especially a lot of scenes are getting filmed in the desert.
yeah. But then we're also introduced to his daughter, who's also been a Jesuit.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember her name but she's played by Miss Pughes.
Florence
Pugh.
Pughes, yeah.
Relax over there, Tim.
And during her scenes is like, I mean, I don't know. I was just raising my popcorn up just to.
I was flipping my Dune popcorn over.
Vince, I tried getting you one of those. They were sold out. They were sold out.
Yeah, that's what I thought. They thought they were at AMC.
They were.
Yeah.
I literally, the guy in front of me asked for one, and they're like, "Oh no, they're sold out." I was like, "Dang it!"
I almost sent you guys a TikTok of this lady that apparently she works for a sex toy company, and so she got pictures of all those, and so she made a real one. I almost sent it to you guys.
Oh my goodness. If you don't know, what we're talking about, look up the popcorn lid. I guess.
Yeah.
The sandworm.
So Emperor's name, shot him. Her name, Princess Irulan.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting too. Princess Irulan, they didn't really introduce her in the part one, but she does play a major role in this because they set her up early. She's obviously the Emperor's daughter, but she's also working with the Bene Gesserit, so she's kind of on this like, I love my father, he's the Emperor, I serve him, but also I'm doing what the Bene Gesserit say. So we got that real pretty early on.
And then she's also kind of playing this like part of almost like a historian for the Empire, because
historian.
She's kind of just she's tracking what's all the things that are happening on Arrakis.
Yeah, she was that scene where she's just recording stuff like just.
Yeah, she's like a
Here's
historian.
what's going on.
She's an advisor for her father. She's an advisor or not an advisor, but a servant of the Bene Gesserit. And
Well, she's a Bene Gesserit herself, it seems like.
yeah,
So
that's what I mean.
Space witches.
Yeah, and we didn't, which I'm curious too, because we didn't really get to see her kind of show off her power, whereas like most of the other Bene Gesserit, they've had moments where they.
You're gonna have to read Dune Messiah
Yeah.
for that.
Okay, I want to go back to Feyd-Rautha scene with the Bene Gesserit after his fight. So when she does the test, the box test, when they do that,
I laughed so hard.
Why?
Put your right hand in the box.
Yeah,
and it's
after
just,
she's
and
like
it's like
seducing him.
definitely seducing him, and then it's like then they finally pull away, and she's holding up the pin to his neck, and
Yeah, it worked out much more seductively.
Yeah,
That-
but
they
but
talked
still
about
they knew what they were doing. It's
Danny,
like, it's
you
like
slide on
it's
you.
it's like the one pretty good joke that, besides Stilgar's shtick in a lot of that. I mean, those are the laughs you get, and that was I loved it.
I smirked pretty hard.
Yeah,
But then
I tried not to laugh.
after that, we got Feyd-Rautha, who goes and literally destroys pretty much all of the northern Arrakis
Sieges.
peoples. Yeah, and their
He
sieges.
destroyed a siege.
And that's going south is kind of when the movie starts to pick up a little bit. They travel south, and then Paul drinks the worm poison. And after that last hour is just an epic climax, scene after scene. We're fully rolling at that point, and it's just so intense. And it was kind of sad seeing because it was cool seeing Paul rise up, but it was kind of sad seeing him and Johnny drift apart.
But again, you could tell there was this him realizing that, okay, maybe I am the Al-Gaib.
Well, his sight was
Okay.
opened when he drank the poison,
Yeah.
too, and that's when he met his sister.
Yeah, all of a sudden he's realizing that he has this much bigger purpose for the wider empire, and I'm assuming because I think he does care about the Fremen. He does care about
Oh, absolutely.
what happens to Arrakis. So I think he knows that he serves this bigger purpose for the wider galaxy or whatever, and so.
He has this destiny kind of.
Yeah, and so it was a heart-wrenching scene, seeing him talk to Johnny and being like, I'll love you forever, but then going up to the Emperor and saying like, all right, well, I'll take your
And I'll take your daughter now.
I'll take your daughter's hand. to join our houses. And
Before the poison, he can see different versions of the future, but he doesn't know
And that's why
which
he's
one
scared.
he is.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to make the right decisions, and then all of a sudden, once he has the power, then he's like, "Well, fuck yeah, let's go!"
Yeah, seeing him go up to the right after he drinks poison, he kind of comes and he sees his full vision. He comes into their like little council chambers and stuff, and Sogor's like, all right, you got to kill me now to take my place. And then he just like lays into the people and just like that's when he starts yelling, pretty much ascends to Messiah godhood.
Yeah.
And after that, we're fully invested. We're all in.
Well, and that's where I really loved watching the similarity between Gurney and Stilgar. Because they both kind of had a similar reaction, like seeing him, for Stilgar, like him being like, I'm the Messiah, follow me, we're going to free Arrakis. And then seeing Gurney like being like, my Duke is like finally going to do it. Like he's going to rise
and take his place
and like even, start running the Empire. Like
it really was. There's this whole balance between this entire film. And it comes down to kind of what you're saying of Gurney and Stilgar is we see that obviously like this isn't like religious. This is all political stuff set up by the Bene Gesserit. So there's all this stuff. But then also we're seeing all these things actually happen and all these like miracles and stuff and like his vision and stuff. So it's like this is counterbalance of like Gurney and Stilgar pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see kind of transpire throughout the whole movie. And it always boils down to we all just want to see Paul succeed, no matter what your views on anything are.
Well, but like it also, I don't know, it made me worried. Like his mother Jessica, kind of going down almost a darker path of trying to see him ascend.
She was kind of going. She'll do anything.
Yeah, and it was a kind of a cool contrast between Stilgar and Gurney, but then.
Johnny and
they
Jessica.
And it's just you almost like you hate to see kind of Paul fall into this like thing that his mother once set up.
Yeah, this like radicalism.
Yeah.
Almost. It really there was these undertones of faith and non-faith between two different kinds of people, and they played it out pretty much the whole thing.
Yeah,
which was kind of I guess a secondary layer into the movie. I thought I'm sure the book explores even deeper in that, which is fascinating to read.
Well, the Bene Gesserit has their own motivations, but it seems like they're trying to control as best they can, but I don't know like what the end game is. So it's like
I think their end game is to always stay in control, but I'm getting the sense that Paul's probably not going to allow that.
They weren't in they were trying to be in control, but in the end they weren't technically in control. So
and that's the thing. I think you're kind of on the money though. Is that it's for one, like men with these sort of powers, they kind of seem as dangerous, and then. So they kind of like saw Paul kind of getting stronger with his powers.
Well,
and like,
it's also
this could be dangerous.
We saw that in the first film.
Yeah.
That because Paul is supposed to be a girl, the Bene Gesserit told Jessica to have a daughter.
Yeah.
To fulfill these kind of prophecies. She kind of rebelled against that because that's what Duke Leto Atreides wanted. He wanted a son, but then she continued training him in the ways to be the El Saib or whatever.
Yeah.
Even though he was a man, which went against the Bene Gesserit. So.
And so and then them trying to like pivot that into just somebody they can like seat as an emperor, but
control. And that's why they were playing the game. They had him and they had Fade Rotha, so they were going to.
They wanted Fade Rotha because they could control him.
Yeah,
with the
Bene Gesserit.
Well, and Jess kind of said that, alluded to that near the end there. She's like, you chose the wrong side.
Yeah,
bitch. Yeah, she might as well have said that.
We added that last part.
But that was our writing. But dude, after he rallies the troops down south, which is what millions of Fremen or whatever, they go up. The all those Game of Thrones haters of the show were like, it's fast travel. Probably weren't happy with this movie because we didn't have time to watch them travel all the way back to the north.
There was a scene where because the poison scene, he stayed back, they went south, but then they all ended up the same place.
No, he did poison down south.
Yeah, that was.
But he said he wasn't going down south.
Yeah, but then he had that vision.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he went down south with them.
But Okay.
It was
It's
the,
a big-
it was
it's a
the-
big
it was the
movie.
same scene, Tim.
I missed that part.
It's
he
a
got.
big
He
movie.
said, "I'm
He
not."
walked away.
Yeah, he said, "I'm mad. I'm not going south." And he walks down, and then Johnny follows him, and he puts his hand on the ground, and has that vision, and he goes, "I'm going to do what I have to do to her."
I
and then
missed
they
the
left.
part where he got on the worm too. I guess I don't know. Whatever, but they weren't there. I don't know.
Anyway,
Yeah.
after that, that's when we go full war mode.
Oh, and it
He
was
sends the letter to the Emperor. He's like, "Hey, buddy, come on down."
Yeah.
And he sets off
Gurney,
the atomic weapons.
oh,
with
that
the-
was
with
so
the-
fucking cool.
the Gurney with the missile silo thing.
Yes.
like-
So
Oh.
cool. Loved it.
In where the ball is rolling and nonstop, and it's just nonstop action with the intense music. This beautiful cinematography of the mountains exploding from atomic bombs and the storm coming in. It was just,
And the,
It was
the worm
breathtaking
riders
cinematography.
riding in.
dude, the shot where the 3 worms come through the dust is one of the
Dude.
most badass scenes
I-
I've ever. And shout out to that Emperor soldier. Well, what are the Emperor soldiers called?
The
silos.
Sakar.
The Sakaar. They were all turning to run. There was one Sakaar soldier who had a sword pointed out as the worm was coming out. It's like, buddy, that is not going to do any good. But that shot of the 3 worms coming up and down was, I literally had an out of body experience watching that and just went, wow.
Honestly, I think the last time we seen this like epic of a battle scene was probably Lord of the Rings.
Return of the King.
Yeah, Return of the King. Like that, I got similar, chills as I got to that with Gandalf on top, just being like,
Or Battle of Helm's Deep. Yeah,
Battle
when it comes
Deep,
coming down.
yeah. And seeing that sun, like the sun,
Yeah.
like I got this same kind of feeling, like holy cow, like this is where he wins. Like that there's nothing that can go wrong after that.
Yeah.
And it was intense.
So, watching and also Shawnee just cutting through. It's a Sardaukar.
Sardaukar.
Sardaukar
is the Emperor
Yeah,
soldiers.
just her just cutting through him like piss through snow.
Johnny's badass,
it
dude.
was that like there was like two main like the badass afterwards look when she shot the guy.
Well, the badass
shot the guy into the harvester, and then when she
Oh,
just
yeah.
like and then she looks back and is just like
Well, when she looks back into the camera, that is actually from Paul's vision in the first movie,
Right.
which was just
right.
thank you, Denis.
Yep.
Yes.
You are amazing. And then they go through and he kills Baron Harkonnen. He just walks in, stabs him in the neck, and it's like you
Oh yeah,
you die like an animal.
What a beautiful scene of the emperor and his kind of retinue, and have being like, oh crap, like they won, and the guards kind of just taking their final stand, and
And Paul just pretty much just ignores them.
yeah, he just walking up to the Baron, who's already been kind of crippled, right? But
Yeah, they cut off.
Well,
his
he got punished by the Emperor.
but showing no
life
mercy.
support or
I
whatever
loved
it was.
Yeah, did you know, fun spoiler for the book, Paul's sister is actually the one who kills Baron.
Oh,
She's like 6 years old in the book, but since the poison came when she was in the womb, she's like a little 6-year-old adult.
Okay,
But she was in the book, she was the one. But so I think it worked out
Interesting.
for the change in the movie. I think was
I
good.
loved
This
it, yeah.
is Paul's story, and I thought
yeah,
that was perfectly fine. And then we get to the duel between Fade Rotha and Paul. I swear to God, dude, in the theater, I didn't know what was going to happen. I was worried because I mean this movie and this story has been so epic so far. And obviously we didn't cover this. I think we've said this in the podcast before, but none of us have read the books.
Yeah.
But we're doing this, and everything's going through my head. He has the visions from the first movie, him getting shanked in the side, Johnny killing him. So he has all these. I'm like, are they gonna kill Paul?
Well,
And
the main mind blower that for me, he's a Harkonnen. Also,
right, yeah, that
We-
reveal.
we-
That was a
that's
good
that's a big part.
Finding out
We
Jessica,
forgot
yeah,
that
but
Jessica,
finding out Jessica, the Baron is her grandfather. I
No,
believe?
her-
her
his
father.
father,
Yeah,
father.
yeah,
and then he gave her over to the Bene Gesserit when she was a child.
yeah. So finding out that Paul Atreides, his grandpa,
As
set up the whole thing.
Baron
for his, yeah,
Which made it more satisfying when he killed him.
Oh.
I thought, oh, just
felt great.
grandfather.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then him calling out Fade Rotha as like cousin.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
"Ooh."
But that duel, dude, like, since I didn't know what was going to happen, I was legitimately scared Paul was going to. not
how
joking.
How did he live from being stabbed?
I felt
This is bullshit.
quiet. Like I felt my heart beating through my chest, dude. Like I had to my watch like tracks my heart rate. I had to take it off in theaters
It was
because
beeping
like
at you? Like, you're gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah, it's like you're having a heart attack.
Tyler, you're dying.
Yeah, I was like, I can't. I'm watching a movie right now. Stop.
Good thing it's on an Apple Watch. It would have called 911.
Yeah. Sir, you okay? I'm watching Dune 2. Leave me alone. But it was like that was one of the most intense, suspenseful scenes ever. Yeah. Then Paul gets stabbed in the side, and then I'm freaking out, dude. And I see him grab the knife, and I'm like, oh my god, Paul's gonna die. And like I'm just losing it. And then you see.
It got it in the chest.
Oh. And I have mad respect for Fade Rotha too.
Yeah.
Right then, where he says the same thing as to the Atreides he killed. Is, you fought well, Atreides, and dead.
Yeah.
But I got
Austin Butler was really great. Like,
If you're trying,
like,
yeah,
I,
Austin
thought,
Butler.
I almost thought it was a Skarsgård at first.
He did a Stellan Skarsgård impression, pretty much.
Apparently, it was cracking him up. It was one of the things I read. Stellan was just cracking up because it's like, this guy is so evil. I love it. He loves it,
Nephew.
But Tyler,
Hey, shut your mouth. If you're gonna bring Star Wars,
Tyler, I gotta ask.
That doesn't
No,
belong
no,
in
no,
this.
no.
Well,
that does not belong.
but
in
it
this.
does.
A lightsaber wound
This is
is
like-
much different than a knife, Vince.
This is a,
Yeah, it cauterizes on entry as opposed to a knife.
Stop, Vince.
No.
This is
I know.
not for
I
this
need
podcast. Hey, leave
no,
this
no,
for a
no.
different podcast.
Okay.
Leave this for a different podcast.
We'll leave it for.
This is
can
the
we,
Dune
can we
Part
do it?
2 review.
Can we do it for the,
We'll do
the
it
regular
later.
episode?
We'll do it
Okay,
later.
okay.
Yeah. This is the Dune Part 2 review.
okay.
We're talking about
Back
this.
to it. Back to it.
Yeah, and then we see that was pretty much it for Johnny and Paul. She dips out.
Right. Yeah.
and-
rides the worm home.
Not yet. That's the very last scene.
I like. That's a good innuendo.
And
But then we also see all the other houses showing up.
yeah, houses
Yeah.
showing up.
in orbit and kind of again this is a 3-part film. I'm assuming 3-part.
Well, it's not really because this was just 2 parts of one book. We still got 2 more books to do.
Yeah.
I thought Dune was just one big book.
No, there's Dune, Dune Messiah, and then Dune something.
Oh, okay.
So we got like 5 more movies.
I do
smokes.
want to know how these space battles go, because how are the Fremen who live in the desert
They're
who
gonna have to
ride
adapt. They're gonna
who
have to
ride
adapt.
worms? How are they in a space battle, and how does that work? Do they like board each other like it's a pirate?
Well,
like,
honestly,
battle,
based off
like,
just from the movies, we don't really know what space battles like. We see
Yeah.
very few spaceships, and they're not, warships.
So a couple things,
I don't
Tim.
know. We'll see.
I think you're thinking too hard on it.
Well, yeah, I
It's-
know, but that was like it was the one because I read all the idiots that put in 1-star reviews for like either being book purists or just morons.
Yeah.
And that was one thing is like, what are the Fremen going to do in space?
What do they have to do?
I don't know.
They don't have to go to space.
But
They're on
they got.
Arrakis.
But they got.
and
got,
can't.
But
can't,
they left at the end.
Yeah, they got
right,
on. They got on
yeah,
ships.
they're taking stuff. But I'm just saying, it's like they can play their own thing. Like that's what
Right,
I think
right,
is
right.
nice. Is that I mean we've seen it with how the Fremen fight just regular soldiers. Like the soldiers, they don't know how to fight Fremen because
Yeah,
they're
it's
so unpredictable. They don't have shields.
And also,
right?
Yeah.
they'll do anything that Paul says. We're at that.
Yeah.
We're at the
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
of no return with that. Paul's going to lead them.
Yeah.
He found his calling. He found his way, which I thought
Yeah.
was really sweet that he said later on, because that calls back to the first movie when his dad told him that he would find his way. But then that was it. That was the movie. Paul's setting up. He said to paradise to all the Fremen, and they're going to go to war with all the houses. And Johnny's like, "Nah, I'm good," and shows her the final scene preparing. She did not ride the worm. She was preparing to ride the
Gotta
worm.
ride the worm.
So we got to wait for movie 3 to see what happened.
Yeah.
I do have one critique of this movie, and
Yeah.
it's only one, and it's afterwards I realized that I will never write or create anything of this magnitude ever in my life, and that was very discouraging. That I might as well. There's only been a few pieces of art that have made me feel that way, and this is one of them. And it's like, well, I might as well just quit doing anything because I will never, ever be able to create something as magnificent as this.
Well, again, it's
I mean, this was adapted. I mean, maybe you could find something to adapt.
and also I don't think Danny thought that this was going.
Denny.
Fucking, I don't give a shit.
He's fucking French.
French.
It's
Yeah.
stupid. Yeah.
dumb French people.
It's,
Fine, call him
it's actually
Dennis.
it's spelled
Dennis.
it's
Call
spelled,
him
it's spelled
Dennis.
more like Dennis with
Just
one
call him
N.
Dennis.
Anyways, I don't think he probably I think he understood that he was making a great movie, but I don't think anybody making art is like this is it. Like this is the magnum opus of everything.
He's not, but I am.
I
After
know,
watching
but
it.
like even like Tolkien, he probably didn't think the Lord of the Rings would be as like lasting.
Yeah,
as long as it happened.
nobody does when they're creating their own
Exactly.
work.
So that's why you just got to keep going, Tyler. I'm trying to encourage you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
My one critique, and I talked to Tyler right after we watched it on Thursday, was I was bummed that we never got to see them how they get off the worms.
We never saw him dismount.
We never see him
Yeah,
dismount.
is there a ladder?
And then also when they're moving south, they load up the worm with a bunch of people, including like Jessica, who's in like a what do you
Carriage.
call it? A little
Might as well
carriage
call it a worm carriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like when we've seen how they get on the worms, seems pretty intense, and it would be very hard for people carrying the carriage to jump onto the worm.
Well, the worm
at
doesn't
that.
stop, so they got to get on it.
They're from They're one with the desert. They found a way.
And I'm about it.
They get on it with the driver. So I mean, they're all standing behind apparently, and obviously that was we don't ever see anybody else get on the worm. Apparently,
But that was Paul's first time.
That was,
so
that
he's a
was the
little
first
rusty.
time. So apparently, when you're super experienced at it, I assume it's just like a
hopping on your motorcycle.
as easy as getting on a subway.
Due to the time constraints, we didn't have time to explain. Okay, read the book if you want more about dismounting worms.
I assume they just all fall on it, like when it goes through the dune, they just all fall through, and then they're just on. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just thought it was kind of a funny.
Yeah.
It was a funny picture in my mind of them trying to get on this worm while also holding Jessica up.
But getting off is a thing because that worm's not stopping.
And
I don't
my
think.
head
They don't
can
still
my
stop, I
head
don't
canon
think.
is they pull back on the edging or the skin of the worm, the
Yeah.
armor. I'm assuming they let go. It flaps in. He starts to go as he's going underground. We all kind of dip off the sides.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That
dude.
works.
But that's my head canon.
I like
Yeah.
it.
I'm not questioning it because everything else in this movie
the
was
war-
so spectacular. I don't care about any of that.
The worm definitely doesn't stop. That's for sure.
Well, I think something that the Dune films have done really well is that they, like you said, they don't explain how everything's done, and it kind of lets your mind wander, your imagination wander. Not everything needs to be explained. You can kind of just add in your own little stuff, and like you
like
said,
I just did.
yeah, and it's funny to think of how they dismount.
Or
worms.
Denny's like, if you have a question, read the fucking book. Okay?
Yeah. Honestly, I just want to read the book to know what Baron Harkonnen's thing with the oil is. Like, is that like did
the oil, like
the
his little oil baths.
yeah, like and his little life support floating spheres that I would like to know what that is and what the
Well,
like
the orb,
was he in an act? Is he like special?
He was poisoned in episode 1.
But yeah,
But
didn't
it
have
was
the-
even
he didn't
before
have the
he didn't
orb.
have those little.
He didn't have
He
those
didn't have the
orbs.
he
floating
didn't have the
orbs.
orb,
No.
but he was still taking oil baths
Yeah.
before he got
Yeah,
poisoned.
Again, Tim, this is the
I don't
part
know.
where
Take
you
an
get
oil
to
bath,
add your
bro. Why
own
wouldn't
stuff.
you? If you could take an oil bath, why wouldn't you?
The Harkonnen are just
I
kind of
don't know.
creepy, weird people, right? So
But
just kind of add your own
and
thing.
the spine thing that makes him float is like I would like to know that, but obviously, yeah, it might be in the book, I suppose, but
It could
I'm
be.
sure it's in
All
the
right,
book.
so Vince, here are the Dune Chronicles by Frank Herbert. Dune, which is the movie we just watched. And then book 2 is Dune Messiah. Third book is Children of Dune. Fourth book is God Emperor of Dune. Fifth book is Heretics of Dune. And the sixth book is Chapter House Dune. And then his son continued on his work and did some more
Holy
books.
shit!
But I got the book here, and
That's a lot.
I made the decision. I think we talked about this, but I made the decision when I found out Denis Villeneuve was going to make Dune that I wasn't going to read the book until after the movies because I have such respect for him as a filmmaker. One of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
But you don't know that yet.
Well, I mean,
do.
I think it is
Because not knowing what happened at the end of this movie,
I guess, yeah, now it-
really elevated my
for being a
experience.
film fan.
For being such a fan of film, yeah.
Yeah.
And it also, because like I didn't read the Game of Thrones books until I finished the. I think it was like after the second season of
Oh,
Game
yeah,
of
yeah.
Thrones. I was like, my mom kept telling me how good the books were, and I was like, all right, fine. I wasn't a big reader then. I finally picked them up, and I think it does kind of help your imagination almost. You already have like kind of a visual idea of what these should look like, and even no matter how many descriptors you put into
it
a
helps
book.
with Game of Thrones and Dune because the worlds are so foreign and there's so many characters. It helps you kind of compartmentalize it almost in your brain.
Yeah.
All right, so now this podcast is now just going to be an audiobook of me reading Dune. And the week before the
See you in
departure
10
to
hours.
Arrakis, when all the final scurrying about had reached a nearly unbearable frenzy, an old crone came to visit the mother of the boy, Paul.
There you
All right,
go.
that's it.
Yeah.
You'd be a terrible audiobook reader.
I was just reading to you like as comfort.
okay.
That wasn't
Oh,
for
okay.
that was not a performance. So
Okay.
easy there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Final thoughts. This I don't know. I'm gonna when this comes out on 4K, I'm buying it and I'm gonna have a movie or a night where I make my wife and my children leave the house. I'm probably gonna get naked, light some candles, and I'm gonna watch Dune Part 1
Gonna
and
get a
Dune Part 2.
Kiddie pool full of oil.
Oh yeah, full of that Harkonnen oil.
And just edge yourself until Paul yells at you.
Until Paul yells.
Edge.
And but I'm gonna watch Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2 as it stands now. Might be my favorite movie of all time. I don't know. I can't give this movie any more praise. The things it did to me emotionally, like after we watched it Thursday for the first time, I came home and I sat on the couch and was like, well, I got a few hours before I got to go to bed. Maybe I'll play a game. Maybe I'll watch it. I couldn't do anything. I just sat there. And then I turned on the soundtrack and just listened to that because there was nothing like this emotionally. This whole film engulfed me so much, and it still has. I don't really want to watch or play or do anything else because I'm just so captivated by the story and by the movie. Yeah, this is easily a 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, 11 out of 10, 6 out of 5, whatever rating you want to put. One of the great, like I said, I'm not saying it lightly. This is one of the greatest cinematic experiences of my life. I'll never forget it. I'm probably going to see it 2 more times in theaters before it's all said and done. And I can't imagine it getting any worse on any viewing.
Yeah. It gave me hope that apparently we can still make great things.
It was magic.
Like that's like it. I'm a bit of a pessimist. Everything sucks most of the time, but this does like give me hope that apparently I can like. It was last year, even after I saw Oppenheimer, it's one of the greatest movies I've seen in a long time, and this topped that.
Oppenheimer is lucky that Dune got delayed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Oppenheimer's going to be losing all these Academy Awards.
That's very true.
Christopher Nolan owes Denny.
That's very true. But not taking anything away from that film, but this, as far as seeing a movie in a theater and getting just a fucking feeling in your midsection, lower section, lower section, head section, all at the same time. It makes you feel alive, and I 10 out of 10.
Will this finally convince you to get a TV that's worth Dune 2?
I'll consider it.
Hey, that's a big step.
Sell.
That's a big step.
That's the biggest sell this
Well,
movie
I'm gonna be. If I still want to continue gaming, I gotta get a new everything in the next year. Anyways, Xbox One is basically obsolete at this point.
So yeah, I think I mentioned this to you guys too after Thursday. Is that the Lord of the Rings trilogy came out 2001, 2002, 2003, and I don't think I was like mature enough to understand. And obviously, having watched it now that I've gotten older, it's only gotten better for me. This was kind of the first. It really feels like one of the first kind of big films that I was able to truly just appreciate the amount of effort that went into how the story was told, how the characters are developed, and it really feels like this. It almost felt like this movie was for me, right? Like it was made for me, and now this newfound love I have for fiction and science fiction and stuff like that. Not really new, but this love that I have for it. That this movie was made for me, and yeah, Dune now. I imagine the books are all of a sudden going to get way more popular, just kind of like Lord of the Rings did, and now
People are going to be very disappointed. Even the people who like the Dune books, they're not all zingers.
yeah.
But
Still, like I love the world that I've been introduced to, and I need to, being the lore whore that I am, I need more. I need to know more about these characters, these factions, and everything like that. And so stellar job. Yeah, top 5 easily, and it's because it's unfortunate that 3 Lord of the Rings films have to take up the first 3. Like they, and when it all comes together, I'm sure it'll change. So,
Yeah, and we know how much I love Christopher Nolan on this podcast.
yeah,
He could never do this.
I don't think so.
Denny
Well,
is an absolute master in filmmaking and deserves every good thing that's ever going to come to him.
if Christopher Nolan was capable of making this film, it would take I don't know how many. It would be over $1 trillion movie because of all the practical effects that would have to go into.
He would build a sandworm.
Yeah. There would be a breeding program. It would take 100 years to make this movie.
Denny, no, dude, let's not talk about Christopher Nolan anymore.
I know,
Denny is a master craftsman, and only he could have pulled this off in the way that he did. And there's a reason why Dune hasn't been made since the 80s. Yeah, absolute phenomenal film, and I am still emotionally torn up about it. And give me about a year, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was the greatest, my top 1 favorite movie of all time.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
I'm gonna sleep on it.
Yeah,
but it might be. Maybe.
All right. Well, if you listen to that and you haven't seen Dune yet, go see it, because I don't. We should probably get paid for marketing, because that was one hell of a sell, I think, by all of us.
I don't. This. I hope this movie breaks the record, because I think. I don't know how you. Can
I think they made.
Getting out of that movie and not telling everybody about how fucking amazing it is, because that's. You can do all the marketing in the world, but if your movie sucks, it sucks. It doesn't matter. But if people genuinely love it and go out and tell somebody, that's going to make a shit ton of money.
Well, it's at 80 or 90 million right now on opening weekend. So I'm imagining that's not going to slow down for another month or 2.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
So hopefully everybody involved in this movie gets paid massively because they deserve it. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening to our Dune Part 2 in review episode. Thank you.
Go see it now.
Right now. Even if you've already seen it, go see it again. Yeah.